Prologue. Roll up, the ringleader shouted to the crowd. See the most amazing sights, sights to astonish. A man with a very amazing mustache and large muscles lifted two women up in either hand. Sights to thrill. A man put his head into a lion's mouth and winked at the crowd. Sights to mystify. Anna took another drag from her cigarette. She had been a magician's assistant at this goddamn travelling circus for a few weeks now, having joined them back in Massachusetts before they travelled back to the United Kingdom. She had never been to the UK before. She believed it would be full of glitz and glamour, but it wasn't. It was filled with rain and mud and crowds that smelled awful and threw peanuts at the animals. Although, that might have just been what life was like with the circus. Show in 5, the manager said. Anna nodded, flicked her cigarette onto the ground and stomped it out. She had thought about leaving it there and letting it start to burn the grass, and hopefully the whole circus. She stepped back into the tent. She took off her robe and looked at herself in the mirror. She hated the small, glittery red outfit that they made her wear. It showed off more of her body than she felt comfortable showing. But she knew there was nothing she could do about it. She walked over to the left wing of the stage. She took a deep breath and readied herself to step on. And then she did. She stepped onto the stage and stood in front of the audience. She could have sworn she heard one of the men wolf whistle. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said in a put-on higher-pitched voice. She hated doing the voice. It was so stupid and made her sound like a child. "It is my great honor to present to you Marvin the Magnificent." The audience cheered as Marvin stepped on. He was dressed in a black tuxedo with a top hat with a red ribbon wrapped around the brim. In his hand, he held a small black stick that was painted white at either end. "Thank you, Anna," he smiled. "Now, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to see the greatest show in the history of show business?" The audience cheered. "Well, how about we start with a bang? Really justifying that absurd ticket price," he continued. The audience laughed at his joke. "Anna, how about we do the disappearing trick?" "Yes, sir," Anna said. She hated doing the voice. It made her pray that the Great War was still going on, so she didn't have to be doing this. She went to get the magic curtain that really contained no magic at all. No, we have nothing to hide," Marvin said, stopping her. "But that's how she said in her regular voice. "You folks are going to get a sneak peek of a brand new trick," Marvin told the audience. "Now, Anna, stay right there." Anna stood confused. She knew she shouldn't have joined this damn place. She should have just stayed and become a housewife like her mother. Marvin raised his wand and waved it towards Anna. The audience watched closely, as nothing happened. "He's a fraud!" one of the audience members shouted. "No, my friend," Marvin said. "Just watch." Anna felt something in her stomach, like something was crawling up to her throat. She began gagging. She was going to throw up. She opened her mouth and a dove flew out. The audience gasped. Anna looked at her shaking hands. Something was growing on them. Feathers. White feathers like that of a dove. The feathers began growing out from all of her skin, more and more, covering her from head to toe in feathers. Anna screamed as, poof! Anna burst into a flurry of feathers, doves flying out from where she was standing. The audience cheered. Marvin smiled and took a bow. Chapter 1 is a hoot. The TARDIS shook violently as the Doctor fiddled with the controls, causing Liam to have to hold on tightly to the handrail. "Couldn't you have made the time machine a little smoother?" Liam asked, barely keeping a hold of the rail. "It's just one of her many quirks," the Doctor said, patting the console. The Doctor wasn't as bothered by the space-time machine's violent shaking as Liam was. In fact, he had grown used to it after all these hundreds of thousands of years. The Doctor flicked a lever and everything stopped. "Out there," the Doctor said, pointing towards the TARDIS's doors, "is France." "France," Liam scoffed. "So we've hopped the channel." "France 1655, the Doctor explained. "What happened in 1655? Liam asked. "You're right, nothing much," the Doctor said, returning to the controls. The time machine shook and groaned again, before quickly stopping. "A billion light-years from Earth," the Doctor said, once again pointing at the doors. "The planet of the Muppets." "You'll fit right in then," Liam joked. "Right, okay," the Doctor said, flipping more buttons. "How about somewhere truly random?" Once again, the TARDIS shook and wheezed and groaned until... ding. Everything fell silent again. The Doctor gestured towards the door. "Where are we?" Liam asked, glancing towards the door. "No idea," the Doctor said. "How do we know it's safe?" Liam said. He had seen sci-fi movies. They would always check the breathability and gravity of brand new planets, and he didn't want his first alien world to also be his last. The Doctor pointed to a flashing green light on the console. "Okay, I'm trusting you," Liam said, approaching the door. Liam grabbed onto the door handle, took a deep breath, and stepped outside. Liam looked around the alien planet. The air was indeed breathable, and the sky was blue. The moon was visible, the grass was green, a dove flew past, and... "It's Earth," Liam said, disappointed. "We've landed right back on Earth." "Have we?" the Doctor said, peeking his head out the TARDIS. "Brilliant. Found out how good your time-space machine is," Liam said, folding his arms. "We're just in a random field." "I said truly random, didn't I?" the Doctor said, stepping out of the TARDIS. Liam looked around. The surrounding area was mainly forest, but the two stood in a large clearing. Liam noticed something. "There's a circus," Liam said, directing the Doctor's attention to a large red and white striped tent on the other side of the field. The Doctor smiled. He loved a circus. As he and Liam made their way over to the circus, the Doctor recounted the best circus he had ever been to. It stretched across an entire planet. He asked Liam if he could believe that. An entire planet filled with clowns and tricks and stunts. Liam said it sounded like a nightmare. The Doctor had been there so many years ago. He had gone back when he was still travelling with his granddaughter. "You had a granddaughter?" Liam asked. "And her teachers." It was quite a planet. Not one the Doctor was dying to go back to again. Otherwise he would have in the several hundreds of thousands of years it had been since he last went. And had disappeared since then. Just simply vanished. "Wow," Liam said. "Vanished." "Yeah," the Doctor said. "Poof. Gone. As if by magic." The smell of popcorn and peanuts immediately hit Liam as they entered the circus field. Liam looked around. He saw the strong man lifting a seemingly impossible amount. He saw a sword swallower. He saw a contortionist next to a sign that read "The Amazing Elastic Woman." He saw several doves fly overhead. It looked exactly like how Liam imagined an old-timey circus. "So, what is this?" Liam asked the Doctor. "Some sort of recreation of, like, an old circus?" The Doctor laughed. "No, this is the real thing." The Doctor showed Liam a newspaper. He pointed at the date. April 10th, 1925. Liam couldn't believe it. He hadn't even been born yet, and yet here he was, standing on the slightly muddy ground in a circus. It was amazing. It was strange. It was... "I think I'm going to be sick," Liam said, holding his stomach. "Ah, time travel sickness," the Doctor said, putting a hand onto Liam's back. "Happens to all of us. I get it all the time." "Really?" Liam said, looking at the Doctor with surprise. The Doctor opened his mouth to say something. He thought for a second and then said, "No." He patted Liam's back. "I'm going to go look around," the Doctor said, smiling at Liam. "Shout for me if you need me." The Doctor walked away, stepping into the crowd and disappearing amongst a large number of people. Liam took a deep breath and straightened his back, the ill feeling disappearing. Liam looked at the crowd and saw how they were dressed in sharp three-piece suits and sensible dresses, which Liam thought was odd attire for a field like this. And then he thought how odd he and the Doctor must look in their modern-day clothes. And then he realised he was still wearing his work uniform. How hadn't he noticed before? Well, it had been a busy few hours. Then Liam wondered if anyone here knew what a burger or a kebab was. They were probably more used to peach cobblers or whatever they ate back then. Well, back now. All this time travel stuff was hard for Liam to wrap his mind around. "You there, sir!" A man in a red blazer shouted towards Liam. "You new round here?" Liam turned to look at the man. He could tell that this man was a ringleader, because he was dressed like Hugh Jackman in The Greatest Showman. Liam didn't like The Greatest Showman. He had read a book about P.T. Barnum once while Quinn was studying for his science exam in the university's library, and the movie Barnum was nothing like the real Barnum. "Yeah, I'm pretty new around here," Liam said to the ringleader. He wondered if this ringleader had ever considered gluing a fish to a monkey. "Ah, a foreigner," the ringleader announced, turning more than a few heads, all which looked directly at Liam. "No, not really," Liam stuttered. "I mean, I'm from London." "Yes," the ringleader nodded. "But you're so far from home." The ringleader leant down from the barrel he stood on so he could look directly into Liam's eyes. Liam felt a sharp pain, as if the man's stare was literally piercing into his soul. 80 years far," he said to Liam, flashing a sly smile. "How do you know?" Liam asked. This was weird, very weird, maybe even alien. He should tell the doctor. "It's my job to read people," the ringleader winked. "Make sure to watch the magic show. It's a hoot." Liam backed away from the ringleader. He pushed and shoved through the crowd, calling for the doctor. Liam's ears rang as the crowd cheered and jeered loudly as a sword swallower swallowed yet another sword. The crowd pushed against Liam as hard as he pushed against them. It was like fighting against a stream of water. The crowd parted slightly. Liam could see the red-white tent, and a man standing in the opening, staring at Liam. The man smiled and waved before disappearing as the crowd slammed shut again. Liam called out to the doctor once again. He pushed against the crowd again, and then someone grabbed him. Liam tensed up and, "You all right?" the doctor said. Liam sighed with relief and eased up. "Yeah, just..." "What happened?" the doctor asked, his face showing genuine concern. Liam explained what had happened, telling the doctor about how the ringleader knew that he was from the future. The doctor shook his head and told Liam that it wasn't possible. Unless... It couldn't be, could it? It was just an ordinary circus. They couldn't be. "Take me to him," the doctor said. Liam led the doctor through the crowd, which seemed easier this time, as if the mere presence of the doctor commanded the sea of the crowd to part. The ringleader remained on his platform, calling out to the crowd about the sights to behold, or the sights that astonished and thrilled and mystified. The ringleader's eyes immediately looked towards Liam, and then at the doctor. "May I help you, sir?" the ringleader said. The doctor stared into the ringleader's eyes. "You said something to my friend." The ringleader looked at Liam and smiled. "And I want to know how you knew," the doctor continued. "It's my job to read people," the ringleader repeated, winking again. "Make sure to watch the magic show. It's a hoot." Chapter 2. The Magic Show. There was a long queue outside the tent, and the doctor and Liam stood at the very end of it. The doctor bounced on his heels, annoyed and impatient. "I hate queues," the doctor said. "Well, we've got to wait," Liam said. The doctor reached into his pocket and began cutting through the queue. Liam followed behind him. The doctor walked right up to the front of the queue where a ticket man stopped him. "Tickets?" The doctor flashed a card in a small black leather wallet. "We're local critics, free admittance." "I wasn't told of no critics," the ticket man said, folding his arms. "Well, that's a bit of a surprise," the doctor said, smiling his kindest smile. The ticket man looked over at Liam, who also smiled his kindest smile. "All right," the ticket man said. "Back row." The doctor nodded as he and Liam entered the tent. "What was that?" Liam asked. "Psychic paper," the doctor said, showing Liam the card, which was completely blank. "Can get you into anywhere." "What about the White House?" Liam asked, almost teasing. "No," the doctor said. Liam smiled. He knew it. "They just invite me in. I'm friends with most of the presidents," the doctor continued. "Well, almost most. Maybe a few." The tent was large. There were several rows of benches. Liam and the doctor sat on the furthest back left row. At the front there was a stage that looked like it was clumsily put together out of too old wood that could fall apart at any moment. The rest of the audience began piling in, all of them rushing to sit as close to the stage as possible, some knocking over others. It reminded Liam of that time he accidentally went to a store the day of the release of a new cup. Incredibly boring cup, if Liam remembered correctly. Those people pushed and shoved and fought to get that cup, which was really just a regular cup. Definitely not a cup that was worse Liam being pushed into a shelf of pasta. The tent filled up quickly. The rows in front of the Doctor and Liam were completely filled, making it a small task to see the stage itself instead of the backs of people's heads. "Ladies and gentlemen," a dramatic voice said, booming and echoing throughout the tent, "may I present to you the marvelous, the magical, the mystical, Marvin the Magnificent." The audience cheered as the magician strutted onto stage. He waved and bowed, a large smile spread across his face. Then he commanded the audience to stop, and they did. The Doctor thought it was weird how quick the audience stopped cheering, and especially how they all stopped cheering at the exact same time without even a fraction of a second of difference. "Thank you, you're all too kind," he smiled. "Now, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to see the greatest show in the history of show business?" The audience cheered. "Well, how about we start off the show with a bang, really justifying the absurd ticket price?" He continued. The audience laughed at his joke. The Doctor laughed too. He was loving this. He always loved a show, and especially one with such a clearly talented host. "Now," Marvin said, scanning the audience, "for my first trick, I will need a volunteer." So many people put their hands up, even the Doctor. Liam didn't put his hand up. He had a bad experience last time he volunteered for a magic act. The magician made one too many jokes about how good Liam was at tying knots for Liam's comfort, which made him even more awkward when Quinn audibly choked on his drink. Marvin scanned the audience again. He pointed at a woman in the front row. "You." The woman stood up, a bright, beautiful smile on her face. She rushed up to the stage and stood next to Marvin. "Now, my lady," Marvin said, placing a kiss on the woman's hand. "We haven't met, have we?" "No," the woman smiled. "Have you seen the show before?" Marvin asked. "I saw it yesterday," she said, still smiling. "Are you here with anyone? Family? Maybe a partner?" Marvin said. The woman blushed. Was he flirting with her? "No, I'm here by myself," she said. "Well, we're going to do the disappearing act, all right?" The woman nodded. "Brilliant," Marvin smiled. His teeth were remarkably straight and bright white, and there seemed to be just a little too many. Marvin pulled his wand out of his pocket. Liam whispered to the Doctor about how Marvin looked like a stereotypical magician. The Doctor whispered back that maybe he inspired the imagery of the magician. Liam nodded as if he understood. Marvin waved his wand towards the woman. The Doctor leaned forward curiously. The woman held her stomach. A very loud and clear growl rumbled from within. She began coughing and coughing. The cough sounded painful and dry. A dove flew out of the woman's mouth. The bird flapped and flew out of the tent. The Doctor and Liam sat taller. They both knew something was happening, something wrong. The woman looked at their hands as white feathers began to sprout from her skin. "What's happening?" she cried. Marvin smiled as the feathers began growing over more and more of the woman's body. "Stop this now!" Liam shouted, standing up and pushing through the audience. Marvin turned and stared at Liam, his eyes filled with fire. "Sit down," he instructed. Liam returned to his seat. He tried to fight against his movements, but he couldn't. He sat down next to the Doctor. "Please help me," the woman said, as feathers began to spread over her body. Her skin began stretching, bones could be heard cracking and shifting. The woman screamed as puff. The woman burst into a blast of feathers and doves. The doves flew out of the tent, into the fair's ground. The audience cheered a loud cheer. Liam looked at the Doctor with immense concern. The Doctor looked back with the same emotion. "Now for my next trick," Marvin began. "Bring her back," the Doctor shouted. Marvin turned to look at the Doctor, the same fire in his eyes. "I'm sorry? That's the next part of the act. Make them disappear, then you bring them back," the Doctor explained. "Don't interrupt the show," Marvin instructed. "Oh, come on," the Doctor said, standing up and moving towards the stage. "Can't handle a heckler?" The Doctor stepped up onto the stage, looking into Marvin's eyes. "Bring her back." "No," Marvin said defiantly. "My show. Return to your seat." "Sounds like you can't," Liam shouted from his seat. He tried to stand up, but he couldn't, like he was stuck. "Second part of the trick is undoing it." "Yeah," an audience member shouted. "Bring her back." More and more members of the audience began telling the magician to bring the woman back, calling him a hack, a fraud, a rip-off artist. The Doctor smiled at Marvin, who grimaced at the Doctor, the corner of his mouth twitching. He stormed off stage like you would expect a 3-year-old to when you tell them they're not allowed to get a sweet or a toy. Chapter 3. Private Show. So, Liam said as he and the doctor left the tent. Alien? Maybe, the doctor said, almost definitely. The doctor looked around for anyone to investigate. Maybe the various performers, maybe the ringleader. He led Liam through the circus's ground when... Who are you? A voice behind them said. Liam and the doctor turned around. The magician was there, staring at the pair. We're just critics, the doctor shrugged. No, Marvin said, shaking his head. I know critics, and you two aren't it. Marvin's eyes moved from the doctor to Liam and back again, analysing them, searching for answers within their eyes. How about you two come with me? Marvin asked. Which he asked as not at all a question and very much as an instruction. Liam looked at the doctor, and the doctor looked at Liam. They both nodded at each other, and then looked at Marvin. Sure, Liam said. Lead the way, the doctor said. Marvin turned around and walked back into the tent, Liam and the doctor following behind. He led them past the seats, up onto the stage, and back behind the curtain. In the back there were 3 seats, one facing the other 2. Liam wondered if the magician had quickly set this up. He sat down in one of the seats. The doctor stood, staring at a caged dove, his eyes filled with pity. The dove stared back at the doctor. The doctor felt as if it was begging to be set free, to release it and allow it to fly free. Please, Marvin said to the doctor, take a seat. I prefer to stand, the doctor said, putting his hands in his pockets. Oh, but I insist, the magician argued, pointing towards the seat. So do I, the doctor argued back. Marvin's face twitched again, before he sat down in front of Liam and smiled. We'll begin with you then, Liam. Liam's face dropped. He hadn't said his name, so how did Marvin know? Because I can read minds, Marvin said. Now, tell me, Liam, you're here in a land before even your grandmother was born. Liam wanted to say something, wanted to react, but he couldn't. He was stuck staring at the strange magician. You didn't know her long, the magician said. Juno Baker, close friend of Miss Sarah Jane Smith. The doctor turned. That got your attention, Marvin said, looking up at the doctor and smiling. Then he turned back to Liam. And you? Why are you travelling with this man? Because he offered, Liam explained. Marvin made a buzzer sound. Because I wanted to? Marvin made a buzzer sound. Because I was bored, Liam said. Because I wanted to do more than just make burgers and cleaning and watching TV. And so you left Quinn all alone, the magician put a fake frown on. In that big flat. All alone. Liam stared at Marvin. He'll be alright, I know he will. But what about you? Marvin said. You ran off with a man who hasn't even told you his name. The doctor sat down. What about you, Marvin? He said in a mocking tone. I mean, really, a magician called Marvin is a bit basic. The doctor stared into Marvin's eyes. Ah, the magician smiled. But he is recognizing me. The doctor's face scrunched. Are you not pleased to see me? Marvin continued. After all these years. Who is he? Liam asked, turning to the doctor. Marvin smiled a wide smile. It was time. The big reveal. No clue, the doctor said, folding his arms and leaning back into his chair. Marvin's face twitched with anger again. You don't remember? Haven't seen you before in my life, the doctor said. How about you, Liam? Seen this guy before? Liam shook his head. No, never. Well, the magician shrugged. It was so very long ago. How's Susan? The doctor stared at the magician with confusion. He was sure he hadn't met this man before, absolutely sure. What about poor Ian and Barbara? Did they ever get home? Who are you? The doctor said through gritted teeth. Planet of the Circus, the magician smiled. The doctor laughed. The 2-bit hack! The magician's face melted into a frown, a very angry frown. You'd be smart not to mock me, Doctor. Oh, come on, you can read my mind, the doctor said, turning his head and staring at the magician. I fought Daleks and Zygons and Celestials, but a magician! The doctor laughed again. Why should I care? I'm a celestial, the magician scowled. No, the doctor shook his head. I studied the celestials in school. It was one of my doctorates. Never heard of Marvin. Maybe you know me by my actual name, not Marvin said, smiling. The doctor leaned in closer. And what is your name? Kanga, he introduced himself, taking a small bow. Really? Liam asked. Like kangaroo? It is like kangaroo, isn't it? The doctor looked at Liam and nodded. Do you have a pouch? He asked the magician. You think he hops? Liam joked. The doctor laughed again. Stop it! Kanga shouted. Oh, come on, the doctor said. This is comedic gold. The jokes do kind of write themselves, Liam responded. Oh, kinda. That sounds like Kanga. It does, the doctor laughed. Stop it! Kanga shouted again. I'm a celestial. You will respect me. No! The doctor said, shooting up. He pushed against the magician's chair, getting in his face. Because I've met celestials. I've beaten celestials, chased them out of this universe. Kanga looked at the doctor. I've also met a lot of wannabes and has-beens and never was. The doctor stared daggers into the so-called celestial. And you're the most pathetic one yet. Kanga took a deep, shaky breath. This man had changed. It wasn't like the old man he had met. This man was angrier, more aggressive, like he'd done some terrible things. Now, if the Celestials hear that someone is besmirching their good name, they will not be as kind as me, the doctor explained. So, I tell you once, and only once, get off of this planet, or I will drag you off myself. The doctor pushed himself away from Kanga and turned towards the stage's wing. Liam followed suit and stood up. He's so angry, Liam, Kanga said, stopping Liam dead in his tracks. Do you think he's safe? Liam turned back to look at Kanga. He opened his mouth to speak. Liam, the doctor called. Liam closed his mouth and turned around again, following the doctor. Good dog, Kanga smirked as Liam ran off to catch up with the Time Lord. The doctor and Liam walked through the fair's grounds. It was completely empty, save for the performers who were still doing their acts. Liam assumed this was rehearsal for tomorrow. How long were we in there? Liam said. Oh, it must have been, the doctor said, looking around. The place was lit up with rudimentary street lights that pulsed and flickered. The dual moons shone in the sky. This is wrong. The doctor began running towards the exit, Liam following closely behind. Do come back again, the ringleader shouted. It all ends tomorrow. The doctor and Liam stopped to look at the ringleader, who was still standing on the barrel. What does that mean? Liam asked. Greatest trick of all time, the ringleader answered. It'll be a hoot. In the distance, a bell began ringing, one that sounded almost pained. The doctor grabbed onto Liam's hand. He pulled Liam across the field towards the TARDIS. The bell began ringing in Liam's ears as they got closer and closer. The TARDIS's windows glowed a bright red. The doctor opened the doors and they both stepped in. All of the lights in the console room were red instead of their usual white. Several lights on the console blinked on and off. What's going on? Liam asked as the doctor ran over to the console. The doctor didn't answer. He just flicked levers and pressed buttons. The lights all returned to white and the bell stopped. Doctor? Talk to me, Liam said, walking close to the doctor. It all ends tomorrow, the doctor said. But why? What's he going to do? I mean, you said that other planet disappeared, Liam said. Maybe Kanga did that. He could try and do it to Earth. No, the doctor countered. It's less impressive if you do the same trick twice. The doctor thought for a moment. I'm missing something. Liam raised an eyebrow. Missing what? I don't know, the doctor said, but I know I'm missing something. What is it? The doctor ran out of the TARDIS and into the field. He looked around. The doctor noticed a dove flying around and then up into the sky, directly towards the moons. Oh, I am an idiot! What is it? Liam said, peeking out of the TARDIS. If we're on Earth, then... The doctor pointed up. What is that? Liam looked up at the sky. He knew something was wrong, but he couldn't place it. What is it? Liam said, trying to focus on
what it was. He squinted. The thing came more and more into view. The second moon stood misplaced in the sky. Liam stared in surprise and shock. "Oh my god, how hadn't I noticed that before?" "You probably did," the doctor said, re-entering the TARDIS, "but you just looked past it. Someone put a perception filter on it." "So," Liam said, closing the door, "what are we going to do?" The doctor pulled on two levers at the same time. The TARDIS began to shake as it began to float off the ground, and then it flew towards the second moon. Chapter 4. The Second Moon. Becky hid behind a stack of hay. The hay smelled bad, like it was old and wet. Her friends had dared her to stay there for the entire night. Becky didn't want to do it. She hated this place. It all seemed so wrong. The young girl looked around as the performers continued to perform until, "All right, you can stop now," Kanga said. The performers dropped their acts, their shoulders and faces relaxing. They all stepped down from their stages and began heading towards the tent. Kanga began shouting and complaining at the performers, telling them to learn some new acts to be better. The ringleader rolled his eyes and sighed. "What about you, huh?" he said, his voice no longer performative. "Always with that damn bird thing. How about you learn some new material?" "Get inside," Kanga said. "No," the ringleader argued. "I'm done with this, with everything." The ringleader turned around. He ran out of the circus. Becky watched as he ran, as Kanga raised his wand and poof! The man burst into a flurry of feathers and a fleet of doves. Becky had to stop herself from gasping. The doves flapped and flew into the sky towards the second moon. Kanga squinted and then took a deep breath, smelling the cold night air. "You can come out now, Becky," he said, turning to the haystack. The girl's stomach dropped. "Come on," he said. The magician got down on one knee, putting his hand out, as if trying to get a strange cat to approach him on the street. "I won't hurt you." Slowly, Becky stepped out from behind the haystack. She approached the magician. "Are you alone?" the magician asked. His voice sounded like it was genuine. Becky nodded. "Why don't you come with me?" He smiled. Becky took his hand, and together they walked into the tent. And then she screamed. Doves fluttered out of the tent's curtains. The TARDIS landed on the new moon. Liam and the doctor stepped out onto the grey sand. The doctor looked around. Several tents stood on the moon, reaching out as far as he could see. This wasn't a moon. This was the planet of the circus. It seemed less vibrant than the doctor remembered it. All the colors seemed to be muted into greyish tones, and the cheers of the crowd had been replaced with the howling of the wind. The pair walked through the empty planet. The doctor took out his sonic and began scanning around. The bleeping echoed, seemingly endlessly. The doctor approached a tent. He pulled open the curtains. A fleet of doves fluttered out, spiraling above the doctor and Liam. The doctor held the curtain open for Liam, allowing Liam inside. Inside the tent was a cage, and then more cages. Cage after cage of doves. They all turned and looked at Liam as he walked in. They stared at him. Liam felt like their dark eyes were begging him to let them out. "All of these were," Liam said. "Yeah," the doctor nodded. "Why?" "That's what we have to find out," the doctor said, fully stepping into the tent. "What does a bunch of doves have to do with the greatest trick of all time?" Liam thought for a second. "Turn a whole planet into doves?" "Then why is this planet here?" the doctor said. "This is why I hate magic. It's always so difficult to figure out." "Well," Liam said, "maybe we don't need to figure it out." The doctor turned to his companion, raising his eyebrow. "We just need to stop it from happening," Liam continued. The doctor smiled. "Oh, that's brilliant." Let's go crash ourselves a magic show, Liam said, offering his hand to the doctor. The doctor grabbed his hand, and together they ran off the tent towards the blue box and "Halt!" a deep, booming voice called. The doctor and Liam turned around. A large cylindrical spaceship slowly landed on the dead planet. Oh, great, the doctor grumbled. A ramp slowly slid down as the door slid open. Large humanoid figures in black helmeted armor stomped out and towards the pair. Who are they? Liam whispered. The Jadoon, the doctor said as the Jadoon stopped before the pair. Which one of you is Kanga? One of the Jadoon said, its voice rough and grumbly. Neither of us, Liam said. The Jadoon huffed and pulled out a device. It pointed the device towards Liam and scanned him. Human. Then it pointed the device towards the doctor. Non-human. The platoon of Jadoon pointed their guns at the doctor. Their guns charged up and... Wait! The doctor shouted. I have authority. The doctor showed them his psychic paper. The aliens lowered their guns. You will bring him to us, the Jadoon instructed. I'll give you a signal, the doctor reasoned. The Jadoon huffed. You have 1 hour. The doctor nodded as the platoon turned around and stomped back towards their ship. Did you just negotiate with aliens? Liam asked. Yeah, the doctor smiled. They're lovely once you get to know them. Another day at the fair. The usual crowd flooded in. They stared and gawked at the performers. They stuffed their faces with popcorn and candy floss, and they swarmed towards the large tent. Ladies and gentlemen, Kanga's voice boomed throughout the tent again. He waved his hands to guide people into the chairs. Take your seats for tonight! A large smile stretched across his face. The crowd mumbled. The outside world was closed out by a curtain, darkening the tent. A spotlight shone on Kanga. Tonight I perform the greatest trick of all time. Is it the birds again? A voice called from the back. Kanga stopped and stared. 'Cause it was birds last time. Kanga squinted, and then scowled. The doctor and Liam sat at the back. The doctor gave them a cheeky wave. How about something new? Liam said, standing up from his seat and running up on stage. If you'll indulge me, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Liam Baker, and I am the greatest magician ever. Liam bowed. Now, allow me to present my superpower, Liam said, overemphasizing every word in order to keep the audience engaged. He pulled his phone out of his pocket. Watch as I harness the power of light. Liam turned on the phone's flashlight. The audience gasped with amazement. This is your plan? Kanga scowled. Cheap theatrics? Like yours was any better, Liam smiled. Now, my magnificent audience, listen as I control sound itself. Liam hit a button on his phone's home screen, and a song began to play. Liam hummed along to the words and danced around, playfully bumping into Kanga. The audience looked around in amazement, looking for the hidden orchestra. I know, it's amazing, Liam said. But don't worry, everyone will have one in a few hundred years. Enough of this, Kanga shouted. You aren't here for this, buffoon. You're here for me. And it's time for my grand finale. He waved his hands, the tent falling down and swirling around like a ghost, neatly packing itself into a suitcase. Kanga produced his magic wand from his pocket and pointed it at the second moon. He quickly pulled his wand back. The ground began to shake. The leaves on the trees rustled loudly. Everyone stared up in awe as the second moon began to move closer. I've done it, Kanga yelled, his voice echoing. And now, I will take my place amongst the gods of chaos. Liam looked as the doctor stared up into the sky. Liam could tell that the doctor didn't have a plan. He could tell that at this very moment the doctor was trying to think of a plan, but drawing blank after blank after blank. The Jadoon ships flew down carelessly. almost hitting a few of the fairgoers. They stomped out of their ship and towards Kanga. "You will surrender," the Jadoon's leader demanded. "You're too late. This planet will burn until it is nothing but dust," Kanga laughed. "And I will be taken to my destiny." The Doctor's face scrunched as he tried to find a plan, any plan, literally anything. He braced himself to do the only thing he could do. Beg. "Kanga, please," he said. "Stop this. This world is of no worth to the Celestials." "Are you kidding?" Kanga shouted as the wind started to pick up. "Tales are told that one day this planet will belong to them, and I am handing it to them." "And for what?" The Doctor scowled. "You really don't pay attention, Time Lord," the magician teased. "I want to be the god of magic." Liam laughed. The magician turned and stared at Liam. "What's so funny?" "Oh, just that for the god of magic, you forgot the first rule of magic," Liam smiled. "And that is?" Liam held up his right hand. He was holding Kanga's wand. "Always keep an eye on your equipment." Kanga lunged at Liam, but Liam, as if instinctually, pointed the wand at his attacker, sending a bolt of light out of the wand and into Kanga, knocking him back. Liam smiled widely and turned to the Doctor. "Remember that thing I said earlier?" he asked. The Doctor shook his head. "The second part of the trick is undoing it," Liam said, pointing the wand up towards the second moon. He closed his eyes and focused, and then the moon disappeared. Doves began flying down from the sky, circling around the fair. "No!" Kanga shouted. Doves began merging, forming humanoid shapes, and then in puffs of feathers, humans. Every single person Kanga had ever done the trick on, Anna, the ringleader, and even little Becky, was back. "Oh, you are brilliant, Liam," the Doctor smiled, running up onto the stage and hugging Liam tightly. "You're too kind," Liam said, putting on a fake posh accent. The Jadoon marched up to Kanga and pulled him to his feet. "This isn't fair," Kanga mumbled. "I deserve to be worshipped." "Kanga, I would really stop," the Doctor said. "No! I am worthy. It is my right," Kanga interrupted. The Doctor heard a faint, familiar, almost song-like laugh. "If you let me finish, I deserve to be a god," Kanga shouted, and then he started to float above the ground. "Oh," the Doctor sighed. "I warned you." Kanga's arms were pulled to the sides, like a puppet. He began screaming and writhing in pain. "Doctor, what's happening?" Liam asked. "It's like I said," the Doctor explained. "The Celestials aren't as kind as me." Light began shooting out of Kanga's eyes and mouth, and a glow could be seen under his skin. It grew brighter and brighter, and then, as if by magic, he vanished, his screams fading out into silence. The Doctor stared at where Kanga was. Liam reached out and held the Doctor's hand. The Jadoon huffed and moved back to their ship. The people stared and watched as the large black-clad aliens flew away. Then they turned to look at the Doctor and Liam, and started clapping, much to the confusion of Liam. "Ah, the human race," the Doctor said. "Always making excuses for things they don't understand." "What do you mean?" Liam asked. "The greatest trick of all time," the Doctor said. The Doctor and Liam walked back to the TARDIS. The Doctor walked right up to the console and began pressing buttons. "So this is just every day for you?" Liam asked, sitting on the seats just off to the side of the console. "Fighting wannabe gods?" "Well, not every day," the Doctor smiled, looking over at Liam. "Once in a while." Liam nodded. "It's not a problem, is it?" the Doctor asked. Liam shook his head. "Good," the Doctor said, stepping away from the console and towards Liam. "Because I think you've earned this." The doctor reached into his pocket and pulled out a golden key. Are you asking me to move in with you? Liam joked. Sort of, the doctor smiled. Liam took the key out of the doctor's hand. All right, Liam said, but as epic adventurers. I like the sound of that, the doctor replied. So, where to next? Liam stood up and walked towards the console. We've been to the past, so let's go to the future, Liam suggested. Absolutely, the doctor said, pressing some buttons on the console. What year? Something crazy like 7065. Great year, the doctor said, pressing some more buttons. The year that they invented the oozmophone. That sounds like it sounds awful, Liam joked. It does. The doctor smiled as he pulled a lever. The TARDIS began to groan and wheeze again, as it slowly began to dematerialize, disappearing from sight like a magic trick.